friend says that, the president is a politician. He's supposed to shed off his political garb the moment he sits there as a president and leads the country. For those who voted for him, for those who did not vote for him.
Okay.
And so the Registration of Persons Act applies to everyone across the board. And so we shouldn't make someone feel that, there was some failure in the processes when there's a demand. I need you to identify yourself. I need you to inform me exactly the background that, accord you the citizenship that you're claiming.
Wakili, we must admit as well that indeed there have been concerns when it comes to Kenyans acquiring some of this basic documentation, which is critical, including the IDs. Perhaps even as we loop in, I know you want to say something, Wakili, but first of all, let me loop in Honorable Gakuya. I'm sure you have some of your constituents that have had difficulties to actually get their IDs and all that. And what Wakili says is valid, that indeed the process should be as straight as that, validate who you are and all that, so that then you are, guaranteed of an ID. But when you look at it...
Allow me to finish one point
before
then he takes over, that I was just about to make. Section 6 of the Registration of Persons Act makes it mandatory. The moment that you attain the age of the age of the majority, which is actually prescribed as 18 years old, you are supposed by law to be registered. So that places an obligation and the burden in terms of the law on the state, on the government, to ensure that he who or she who attains that age, there is a mechanism to register them. And so the lamentation that he was making is what I'm affirming, that actually the state has failed to provide the offices. And when you hear an edict being made at State House, I've made a decree, there's a proclamation that I'm directing 470 stations be open all over. That's not his job.
Okay.
That's not his job. So I'm saying the state ought to have this continuous registration of persons. But when it is funneled towards an election, then you see the political dimension to it.
And we ask the members of parliament here, number one, Gakuya, to respond as a member of parliament. Why do you allow for the president to make such declarations and they carry the day? Second of all, speaking as a politician, was it the right direction to take? Because I remember recently there's been concerns in your constituency in Bakassi North where, the IEBC suspended a voter registration process. And of course there were, hues and cries left, right and center as to why this happened. And the many people or the many Kenyans that continue to decry of the fact that they find difficulties when they're trying to access this critical documentation. What would you make of this and now this declaration that it is a scandal in the making? It's actually a scandal that is on.
Thank you. Let me say on the onset that the laws of the land are crafted to lead the nation. And I have repeated in this particular forum that nobody is above the law, including the head of state. Head of state takes oath on office, which he or he swears in to protect the Constitution, the people and their property. I have no problem with registration of Kenyans who are real Kenyans. But the problem and the reason why there was a mandatory vetting of outsiders is because this country was under serious security threat. And even today, we are not exception from that particular threat. What we are doing is we are widening the gap and opening the doors to our enemies every day. Today, it is very serious that the head of state can just wake up and order military from the barrack to come out to deal with the agencies without an authority or approval of the House. It is wrong because it is mandatory that no single military can walk from the barrack without an approval of the House. That is how the law is. But you found that a minister, through instruction from the head of state, can call out the military to attack or to come to defense of agencies on the streets. This is wrong. And we are saying, we cannot come here to say to sanitize the wrongs, because if two wrongs can't make right, and we must criticize where the wrongs is. And head of state did it deliberate because he is a seeker of a reaction. And the whole process is done on this kind of haphazard situation without an order so that he can secure numbers. He must be told that registering Somalis who are migrators of peace to this country is wrong. Yes, we need to give them camps to stay. When their country is calm, they get back there because they're not Kenyans. And this should be known. Somalia is not even a part or a member of the East African community. They are not. And therefore, they are our biggest security threat. And we have witnesses in Garissa University and Nairobi and many other areas. And this particular threat is not over.
But of course, we cannot declare those ones as Somali-instigated attacks, but also acknowledging that we have Kenyan Somalis.
I have no problem with that. I have said I have nothing
as long as
registration of the real Kenyans,
right?
Because we have the real Somalis. But what we are doing today, we are registering the migrators. The reason why it's a business, a black market in history, is because those who are seeking the registration are not Kenyans, and they are not meeting the compliances, and therefore they have to use the kickbacks so that they can get the registration. It is wrong, and what the president has done is to open up a lot window, which is this taking country wrong.
Why does Parliament allow for that to happen?
Remember my
why does Parliament allow for that to happen? And please, Mheshimiwa, don't tell me that Parliament has been captured, because you're part of it.
I am...
Good question. That's a good question.
Let me tell you, and I would like to be very clear here today. The House is captured.
Hold it.
Have you taken to the floor? Have you taken to the floor of the House?
It doesn't matter.
This sort of
how do you know?